Roger John Madden in Veracruz, Mexico. I want to capture that boat there that's floating out of view. Somebody's little boat that's not usually out there in the bay. There's another boat that's not usually anchored out there. This is Veracruz Port Harbor in Mexico. That is a ship out there heading in for the port. That out there is Isla Sacrificios. I've made videos about that island. I am 4 days back in Veracruz after being gone to the mountains in the wonderful magical pueblo of Orizaba for 7 weeks. All that is documented elsewhere. This is the wonderful waterfront. Oxo Tienda is the red you can see behind the palm trees over there. That road goes south, 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 south to the very affluent area of Boca Del Rio. I got to know all of this for 2 months, January and February, before I went to Orizaba. And now I'm back car free. My car got stolen, my camper van. I've traveled in camper vans for 4 years. Those vans were not only my home, but my identity. And now I get to take on a new identity as a householder. I'm looking for an apartment here in Veracruz, which I think will be really good for me. I have a story I want to tell about karma, which I think is a frequently very misunderstood word. People think of it in Christian terms, through karma, through an Eastern spiritual concept, through a Western Christian lens of guilt and punishment. It's not about that at all. It's not you do something bad and you suffer. No. No. Even the Christian notions of a punishing God are all myths that were made up. We make God in our own image, in the way we project, the way we think the world works. So the way I think, my experience, direct experience of the way karma works, the movie Groundhog Day is a wonderful map. We don't learn a lesson. It's not Groundhog. I've heard people say Groundhog Day, yeah, same shit, different day. No, it's not at all. If you even pay close attention to the movie, he learns every day how to go back and try it again, how to love better, how to be a better person. That's what I think karma is. Life is not a, God is not a person, certainly not a dude. God is the mysterious force that, in my experience of the way the world works, is benevolent and intelligent. It's all connected. Aldous Huxley wrote the book Perennial Philosophy. He says all the great religions, truly great religions, posit that everything is connected. It's all one. Somehow it's all a seamless fabric of life, which would mean that most modern Christian religion, including the Catholic Church, are not truly great religions at all. They're immature religions. 10 Commandments, very immature. Bunch of rules. Terrible way to try to live a life. No, it's much more sophisticated, and it much more involves subtle listening to spirit, a direct personal relationship. So here's where I guess the Protestant Reformation, I think, had something going on there. Direct personal, not through the Pope, direct personal connection with spirit, God, life, whatever you want to call it, her, they. I love to tweak the Christians by saying, well, God is certainly not a dude. Maybe trans. God might be trans. I'll go with that. But it's way more subtle than that. So karma. I want to tell a story about me and karma as it's visiting me this morning. It's responsibility, it's accountability. If I hurt somebody, even with the best of intent, and even you don't have to assign guilt at all. I was doing the very best I could, trying to be a responsible person, but I hurt her. pretty badly. We're going back 40 years, my early 30s. Recently divorced, psychotherapist in Syracuse, New York. That's where my ex and I split up after 10 horrid years. Really, the karma I own about that terrible marriage is I convinced her to marry me because I said, you won't have sex before marriage because you're a devout Catholic. We are going crazy. We're fighting. We're not doing well together at all. We didn't even know how to fight. We didn't fight, but we were terrible. I think if we have sex, that'll fix it. I was so deadly wrong because sex never was good between us anyway. No, mostly. No, so it didn't fix anything. So I owe a deep apology to her for strong-arming her into getting married because it was a terrible disaster of a marriage. Sorry, but it was. So I was recently out of that. I had a golden period. My golden sexual and romantic period was 10 years after my divorce and before my erroneous diagnosis of clinical depression and then bipolar disorder. They ruined me as a person. Clinical psychologist taught me to think of myself as mentally ill and to take soul-crushing drugs for 30 years. Those 10 years, from 32 to 42, I had some really great relationships and a lot of romantic and sexual exploration. Never promiscuous, never mindless. At one point, I had such a sweet relationship with Barbara Brent, where we loved each other so much, even though we knew we were not meant to be long-term. We said, let's have a medium-term relationship. And the sex was great. And I vowed I never will screw somebody that I don't love. Oh my God, it's so great when you really love somebody. So along in that 10 years, I was running a psychotherapy practice in Syracuse, New York. I had a client named, I won't say her name, and I can't remember her name. I've been traveling for 4 years, and I had a huge spiritual experience that changed my life dramatically for almost 5 years ago. And I've been off of all psychotropic drugs for about 5 years more. And my brain is starting to work again. Started immediately to get so much better and to have memories. Now, that the dirty secret of that 10 years of sexual bliss was that it wasn't because I was functioning on top of my suppressed sexual abuse memories, 6 to 10 by a violent uncle in the woods behind our house. Didn't come back until my early 40s. That's what caused me to fall apart and get the wrong diagnosis. So during that 10 years, I had a lot of great sex. I don't remember any of it. I can't remember the actual act. I don't remember pleasure. And I know that it's because I was dancing on top of so much trauma and pain that I hurt this young woman. She had been a therapy client of mine. I never did anything untoward during the several months that she was a therapy client of mine. I was crazy about her, and she was crazy about me. I knew that. She was wonderful. She was adorable and so alive and fresh, creative, intelligent. But I never got out of line at all. I had been very influenced by reevaluation counseling to infuse touch in healing relationships, so I'm sure we had hugs. I don't have memories of those. I probably didn't even really enjoy them because I was so tied in knots myself. She waited 6 months after she was not a client of mine anymore to call me from neighboring Rochester where she had moved and say, 6 months, I think that's the golden standard in terms of I can fuck you now. So I want you to come over here to Rochester and let's have an affair. So we did. We had a very abortive one-weekend affair, went dancing, had a great time dancing. I adore dancing. She was a great dancer. I bet sex was good, but I don't remember. And I bet sex was good the next morning, but I don't remember. What I remember is that I was so struck by her anxiety, I projected onto her that she was trying hard to function but was so anxious that it was unbearably difficult to be with her. No, it was unbearably difficult to be with me, but I didn't know how to name that. And I dumped her. I don't remember any of the details of how I signed off, but I never saw her again. Hurt her. She had been in love with me for a long time. I loved her. I don't know that I was in love with her. I think she was in love with me. And I hurt her. It's not a Harvey Weinstein thing. I never used my position, my power, to manipulate her at all. She came after what she wanted, and she got it, and it turned out to be shit, because neither of us knew how deeply wounded I was. I want to find her. When I first started realizing all this about her 3 years ago on the road, I'm sure I did a bin-verified search for her roommate, whose name I do remember. I'm sure I never found her. I have to try to find her, because Stormy Daniels did such a great job of saying, you know, if I had outed him right away rather than selling my story, I might have saved some women who followed me. She's taking accountability, responsibility for her actions. Well, how did it affect her life of relationships that I wounded her so badly? I hope she healed. I hope she got great support and went on to a good life, but she may not have. No. And I want to say I'm not going to rest. I'm going to leave no stone unturned, although it may turn out that in a couple of days I come up dry and there's no way to find her. But I want to, and I want to beg for her forgiveness. I don't go around apologizing. Mostly I don't apologize. But when I know I've hurt somebody, I do. Sure. When I know that, not because they want me to, because they're pissed off and they want me to apologize. Fuck you. No. But if I've genuinely hurt someone, yeah, I apologize. And this is, in my entire 77-year-old life, the best I can come up with. This is the person I hurt the worst. I'm going to try to find her. If you know her, call me. All right, bye.